We are back. Oh, I'm so excited. I missed you guys. I want to start with this. This is so critically important. Guys, burn this into your brain. If you are making offers direct to property owners, burn this, tattoo this into your brain. It is so critical. I can't tell you what you should sell your house for. I can only tell you how much I can pay. All right. This is fundamental. This is so absolutely. I missed you too, Edwin. I missed you too. I missed you guys all. This is great. But this is so fundamental. This is so important to really establish this because this allows you to not go in there as their advisor on what they should be doing. You're going in there powerful as I'm a professional. I buy houses. I'm going to shoot you straight and I'm not going to waste your time. This is exactly what my acquisition manager, Ryan Thornton, who, by the way, guys, is coming on here in about 13 minutes. And we're going to hear direct from him exactly how he uses this in the field every single day, in the wild. This is not theory-based. This is going out there and actually what we use every single day with the leads that we're communicating with. But this is critical. I can't tell you what you should sell your house for. I can only tell you how much I can pay. Okay? So you want to establish that. The next thing is you need to figure out these two numbers. This is in the discovery process, right? You're having a conversation with the property owner. You're trying to understand what is their current state. What is their current emotions? How do they feel about their property versus where they want to be? You're looking to see if they have property problems or they have personal problems owning this property. Does selling this property solve those problems? That's what we mean by discovery. We have to understand that because a lead is somebody that has made the decision they're going to sell their property. We spend way too much time. I spent so much of my young career trying to convince people, time the market. Oh, sell before this date. Oh, you've been thinking about it. How do we get further down the line to making that decision, right? That's not where we want to spend our energy. We're just spinning our wheels. We're on a treadmill. We're not going anywhere with those conversations with those prospects. Those are not leads. A lead is somebody that has made the decision they're going to sell their property. They're going to sign documents. They're going to put their signature on a piece of paper in front of a notary at some point at the closing saying, I'm going to transfer title from this property, from owning this property to somebody else. Okay? So in that discovery process, we want to know what are their expectations on price, right? We find out four things, guys. If you're brand new, you've never talked to a property owner ever, or you're just building up your skills, remember, condition, timeline, motivation, price. Condition, timeline, motivation, price. We need to find out these things, okay? What is the condition of the property? When do they want this off their hands? When do they want their money? What is their problem? If there is any, what's their motivation and how much do they expect? What is their expectation of the price? And that's usually the toughest one. That's usually when it goes from a nice, friendly conversation to all of a sudden we're playing poker against each other, right? We're not sitting in alignment. We're sitting across from each other. It's a negotiation, right? It's like, most people don't have a lot of experience negotiating things. So really the only time that they have this experience is when they're buying a car, right? You go to buy a car and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm at this dealership. Everything's set up against me. I got to protect myself. I don't want to get taken advantage of. And so I got to put up this defensive mechanism. I have to put up this bubble, this force field. And that's how people feel when they're negotiating real estate. Right? Because they've only had a few reps of buying cars and it didn't feel good. And so they're already kind of stepping into this negotiations with that mindset. And so we have to first ask a lot of great questions, use our tone of voice, be on their team when it comes to, what is their decision-making process. But again, we can't tell them what they should sell their house for. We can only tell them what we can pay. And if they're not going to give us our price because they feel that, that they have to resist a bit, they have to be respectful to their own wishes, to what they're trying to accomplish, then we have to be able to ask questions to see what really is their expectations. How can we pull out that price? And then how can we justify the price that we give them? So these two numbers are critical. Number one, totally fixed up. What do you think the property's worth? Guys, this happened. Ryan's going to talk about it in 10 minutes. This happened yesterday. We get all of our leads right now from pay-per-click. It's absolutely phenomenal because they close in 30 days and they're big deals. They're fantastic. Get a lead in. They're moving dad out of the property into assisted living. The property is in really rough shape. It needs a new roof, needs a new air conditioner. They have no money for the deposit for the assisted living. They want to leave all the stuff except for a few antiques and some personal property that they're going to keep, that they want to keep. And they just want to cash as is offer, right? And they're playing the game. They don't know how much they think the property's worth. They don't know how much they want for it. So Ryan asked the question, well, totally fixed up, what do you think this property is worth? They say $350,000. Great. It's pretty close. I think that it could go 365. I think with the right remodel, it could go 385. So already great positioning. All right. So now you know what the upper limit is. The second part is how much would you budget to make this house look perfect? If I were to come in with a photography crew and you're going to be featured in the newspaper or in a local magazine for this house, it looks perfect. It is totally updated, totally upgraded. How much budget do you think you would have to spend? And Ryan asked this question, and he said $75,000. New roof, new AC, cosmetic rehab, all these things, right? And so now we're at 350, and the budget is 75,000. Okay, so let's go to the board here, Matt. Oh, I don't have my lapel on. There we go. Give me a second here, guys. We haven't done a live show in a month, so a little bit behind in the procedure here. But we're going to break down the numbers here, as you can see behind me on the numbers breakdown. We're connected. Okay, there we go. All right, the numbers. For like 20,000 when it's really 50,000 or 75, but he was legitimate. Now, if they don't know, which a lot of owners don't know, there's no audio, Matt. You're good now? Okay. So he said 350,000. He said that the rehab budget was 75,000. Okay. Boom. 75,000. And he knew because he was in construction and he knows how much the prices have increased, but a lot of people don't. So if you're under, listen to me, if you're under 300,000 for the fixed up value, go with $30 a square foot for cosmetic renovations. Okay. If it is above that, if it's above 300,000, go $50 a square foot. Got it? Okay, so that's really easy math, and you can explain that to the property owner. You know, it's typically about $30 a square foot to do everything that we need to do in the house. Your house is 1,500 square feet. It's going to be $45,000. Now, for any major items, you add $10,000. 10K, roof, 10K, boiler, 10K. You need to do something in the basement, 10K. You need to put in, the resurface the pool and pool equipment and all these other things, air conditioning unit, 10K. All right. Then what they don't understand is selling costs. Okay. What are the selling costs? Guys, selling costs right now are 10%. Let me explain why. 5% here is your agent, right? An agent, two agents, both sides, typically it's going to be about 5%. That's the average. Even though we've had all this upheaval in the realtor world, it's about 5%. All right? 3%, this is new, guys. This is 2024. This is right here in this market. This could change. This could change. The economy could get a nice boost. This could totally change. Who knows? But this 3% here is the concessions that buyers are asking for. So when you go to sell a house, you might ask 350 and they might give you 350, but the buyer's agent is going to advise their clients to ask for 3% to cover their loan costs, their title and escrow costs, their appraisal costs, some of their inspection costs, home warranties, all these things reimbursed and or just a credit to them at closing for those costs that they going into purchasing a property. Does this make sense? I need this to make sense to everybody because this is real life. Please put it in the chat if the 3% makes sense. Okay? And guys, we'll get to your questions for sure. It's going to be such a great show. I've got Ryan coming up in 5 minutes. I've got Tom Kroll coming up 15 minutes after him. And then I've got Tom Kroll's mentor and also his stepbrother, Todd Toback, who is easily the best sales trainer when it comes to our business that's ever been that's ever been out there, is coming in at the top of the hour. Plus, we got Rafael Cortez. We're going to go over some news articles about crypto and how that affects real estate. It's going to be bananas, so stick around. We got some giveaways. It's going to be great. 3% concessions, and then 2% closing costs, title and escrow fees. So 5% sales, 3% concessions, 2% for the title and escrow fees. So that's 35 grand, guys, right off the top. And then we talk to the property owner about holding costs. Guys, I have investor partners. They charge me 12% a year on the money that I borrow from them. That's 1% every single month. The typical project takes 4 months, which is 4%. So there's another 4% here that we have to deduct to be able to get there. What's somebody put in the chat, 350 times 4%. What is that? 15,000, something like that? Somebody put it in the chat and we'll get that in there. And then I'm a for-profit business. We build in 10% profit on every single deal that we do for the risks that we take buying a property, renovating a property, doing this deal. Every investor that we work with is working off of 10%. In some markets, for those lower price, they're looking for 20%. If you're in these 150 and below, they don't want 10%. They don't want to take a risk and make 8 grand, 10 grand, 12 grand. No, they want to make more than that. So it's 10,000. So there's another 35,000 right there built into it. Did anybody put the 4%? Oh my gosh. You guys are not helping me out here. I got to slow it down so that we can, times 0.04 is 14,000. There you go. That's fine. So there you go. So you got 350 minus 75, 85, 120, 134, 170, 169. You take 169 off of 350, now we're at our offer price. Does that make sense, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Right? This is how you justify the numbers breakdown, but you cannot do it if you guys don't agree on this and you don't agree on this. And basically this. But this is, you have to understand this. You have to understand, what do they think the highest value of this property is? What do you think the rehab budget is to get there? You find out those two things, these two things right here, guys. You find out those two things and you are in great, great, great shape, because now you can have a really logical conversation with the property owner. But guess what? Guess what they don't factor in? None of them factor in this. Put in the chat here or in the comments if you're watching the replay of this, if you've had a conversation with a property owner that sees that on Zillow, their house is worth $452,000, they say it needs $50,000 worth of work, and they're willing to take $400,000 for the property. Happens every day. That's how they start. That's their negotiation. That's their high anchor in some way. Sometimes they just want what Zillow tells them because they think Zillow has like somehow gone into their house and looked at everything that's going on and knows exactly what it's worth, right? But they haven't, obviously. But I'm telling you, a lot of sellers, they think that it's just, your house is worth $500. Well, the house is worth $150,000. It needs $20,000 worth of work. I'll take $115,000. I'll give you a smoking deal. No. What about the selling costs? What about the holding costs? I'm just telling you right now, based on our experience, the average cosmetic remodel is $30 a square foot. It used to be lower, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, but inflation has pushed this all the way up. Not only the labor costs, but actually the actual material costs as well. So this should be easy to justify. If they're not going for any of this, guys, if they're just being sticklers, they're just like, no, I don't believe that. I think it only needs $10,000 worth of work, and I think that it's worth $500,000 because it's not the house, it's the lot. Oh, the lots, it's the values in the land. Anytime you hear somebody say that, run away. There's like this new trend on TikTok where it like drops down these like red flags as people are talking. It's a red flag. It's a red flag if they start telling you that it doesn't need any work and that the values in the land and all this. Unless you are by a beach, or you're somewhere where you can build a high rise, or it's a commercial lot that's in a very economically strong area, it doesn't matter. It's a total waste of time. So this is what once you have the fixed up value in the rehab budget, you are off and running. I'm 2 minutes late. I need to bring in the master, my man, one of my best friends, the greatest acquisition manager, the greatest guy, I'll say, that I know. Boom, I'll give it to him. Ryan Thornton. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome.
So let's really pull in this thread, Ryan. You went out last night on the appointment. They said fixed up $350. It would be worth $350,000. Rehab budget $75,000. When you got there, did they still echo that? Were they still holding strong and true to what they told Chad when he first talked to him?
No.
Aha.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Anytime we get information from a seller, prior to actually physically going on an appointment, I'm always confirming, right? I'll never put words into the conversation when I'm there, or numbers. I let them tell me again what kind of information they have in their head. So if they told Chad, $350, I'm still going to ask them, hey, based off your research, what would the value of this home be completely fixed up 2024 standard HGTV style? And, they're like, oh, well, probably in the 330 to 350 range. So right there, that gives me some room, right? As far as being able to justify some numbers. 330, I'm going to go, yeah, you're pretty close with 330. And I leave it at that. And then I'll do the same thing as far as, okay, Chad said that you kind of had some experience in construction, so based off of your expertise, how much do you think, the rehab costs would be for this place? And he said 75 to Chad, but he told me 50, right?
Big difference.
So I left that alone. So, a lot of times I'm really just trying to get, and I think you said this, I'm trying to get their take on literally everything going on with the house, everything going on with the neighborhood, everything I can get out of them as far as their mindset goes. And then I kind of work and navigate from there.
Because that builds internal pressure. That's not you building the pressure. That's not you saying, wait a second, you said it's 75,000. Now you're saying 50. What changed?
Yeah. Right.
Now you're really putting them on the other side of the poker table.
Right. And I don't want to get into the habit of trying to convince them of what their mind is already really telling them, because then it just adds kind of conflict, right? And the pressure is great as far as timing goes, but I still want that connection to happen. So at the end of the day, if things line up, they're comfortable with me and they're going to decide to sign with me.
So wait, he says 50,000 and you just roll with it. You
No,
just
I was
put
like,
it aside and you're like, okay, 50,000, great.
yeah, I just pass right over it. I'm just gathering information right now. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to argue. I don't want to convince. I don't want to do anything right now. I'm just gathering all the information I need. So at the end of the conversation, we can kind of go line by line about everything we talked about.
So even though Chad already asked these questions, who is our junior acquisition? So the way that it works, guys, the lead comes in, we get a text message. Chad jumps on that call within 30 seconds. He has a conversation with the property owner. If it is appropriate, he sets an appointment for Ryan, and Ryan goes out there and meets with the property owners. Ryan's in the streets, Chad's in the office. Okay, that's that relationship. And Chad's really the filter on who should Ryan be spending the most time with. Who is qualified for Ryan to go out there? Because when Ryan goes out there, he's going out there with one intention, baby. What's that intention, Ryan?
Yep. Lock it up.
Lock it up, baby. Lock it up. So that's really important. But so he's already answered those questions. You want them to confirm it without throwing it at them, going through a checklist. You told Chad that you think it's worth 350. You said that it's worth 75 because you're establishing your own relationship with these people at this point.
Right. And also, if he tells Chad one number and then he talks to, 4 other people by the time I get out there, I want to know where his head's at, because if his initial like, hey, I want to get, 280, but now he's talked to 3 other buyers and he's gotten offers between, 180 and 220, his mindset can change. So I don't want to go into that appointment going, oh, so I heard you wanted 280 to get that hope back up to that initial offer. I want to know where his mind is right now while I'm sitting with him based off of information he may or may not have gathered from that last phone call.
Love it. Love it. And in that discovery, when do you know to make an offer? When do you know to throw out a price? When do you know how to, if you have to justify that price that you break down? What are the kind of signals that they're giving you that they're not really convinced that this is the best offer for them? Or, are you just trying to, do the game where you start really low and you got some room to move up? How do you play that?
It really just comes down to the questions I ask. I want to get down to the very main line of what their timeline is. Like, listen, hey, I'm here. Are you at the point that if we come to terms that we both agree with, that you're going to put pen to paper with me like tonight? And if they say no, okay, that's fine. What would keep you? Oh, I want, this number of offers or that number of offers. And I go, listen, I'm not worried about, getting a higher offer. Anybody who gives a legitimate offer, we're going to beat them. I'm not worried about that. So is there anything else that would keep you from putting pen to paper with me right now? So I really want to get down to the real scope of where their timeline is at, where their mind is at, and what they want to do right there, right then with me. Now, if they're like, yes, if we get to numbers that we can all agree with, then I will start going through like kind of that offer presentation. If they don't, I don't want to be throwing my number out there so they can go off to the next person and compare it. So it really just comes down to the questions that I ask to really solidify the type of timing that they're looking for.
Do you ask them? You know what I mean? Do you ask them that? When they're expecting a bid from you, right? And they're asking for your number. Do you explain it to them? Hey, listen, I'm not going to give you a number because you're just going to leverage it. Like, how do you navigate those waters?
That depends on the savviness of the seller, and you're going to get a different type of vibe from someone. But a lot of times I don't necessarily have to say, well, I don't want to give you a number because you're going to leverage it. I'll get an idea of whether or not I feel like they're going to sign with me today. If they don't, then I kick the can and I blame the fine. Like, listen, hey, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my videos. I'm going to take my pictures. I'm going to have it sent over to my finance guy. We'll have our construction or our contractor take a look at it so I can get you a real down-to-earth number that makes sense for us. Is that okay? And then, depending on, well, we were kind of hoping for a number. And it's like, listen, I don't want to just throw, mud at a wall and hope it sticks. I want to make sure whatever numbers you and I decide on and talk about, they're numbers that are accurate and something that you can get on board with so we can put pen to paper.
Yeah, but what happens if the next guy comes into the house, Ryan, and gives them a number?
And that's fine. I'll tell them. And it's like when you have expectations of other appointments, other buyers coming in, I will lay it out as far as, listen, I'm not worried about getting outbid. We're buying aggressively in this area. If you get any legitimate offer, we're going to beat it. Now, obviously, somebody, you know, can just come in and offer you the moon and stars and some numbers that don't make sense. So they get you under contract, and during escrow, they knock down the price, and you have to either go down to that price or start over. It happens all the time, you know. So I'm letting you know. So if you get some high, crazy number, you can at least have that in your mind. But any legitimate offer, I'm going to be your guy. We're going to deliver on that.
And it works?
It works every time. Now, here's an exception. There are people who do not have a short time. They have they have no timeline, right? The pain is not necessarily there. So if they get that high number, they have time to mess around with that and kind of see and risk it. You know, so you having the understanding of what their true pain is really important to let you know exactly how that deal should go down with you and how much time you really can give them before you make an offer and start talking numbers.
Yeah, I love it. Guys, if this is hitting you in all the right spots, put a goat emoji in the chat for Ryan. Give him some flames, give him some love, put a bell. I don't care. Put a rhino, put anything in there to show Ryan some love. I'm telling you, this is hundreds of thousands of dollars of advice over the length of your career that Ryan is putting in. There you go. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Lukey. Thank you, Sebastian. Look at that, Ryan. Look at that. Jeez, they're going to make your head even bigger.
Nah. Compared to you, it's always going to look small.
That's for sure. That's for sure. All right. So, when do you this is the question that I was going to ask, and then I went off in a different tangent. How often do sellers ask you to justify your offer price?
Not so, maybe indirectly, you know, but I try to keep it as simple as possible as far as numbers go. Because anytime I get to a point where I have to start justifying and convincing, the chances of me locking up a deal right then and there go down exponentially.
Yeah.
Because now they have this idea in their mind, and they just got told that idea is getting knocked down $40,000. Them going, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Let's put pen to paper is super small. So they're going to be the ones that need to, oh, okay, well, you know, I need to get these other offers, or, you know, I need some time to think about it. You know, so, you know, once I have to start trying to convince, you know, that's more of the, hey, you know what, this is what can happen when you get some of these buyers in here who don't know what they're talking about. They give you high numbers, lock you up the contract, that kind of thing. So I will educate for sure, but only when I have a good idea of what information they already have in their head. But like the holding fees, I don't even talk about profit at all. Now, they might have an idea, but people have asked me, oh, so what kind of percentage are you looking for as far as profit goes? And I know we're like 10, 15%, but I won't say that. I go, listen, you know, obviously we can't do this out of the kindness of our heart, but I think anything above, you know, 0 is fine for us. You just leave us a good Google review. The only thing I can say is that we can't lose money on this deal. So my job, I'm very customer facing. My job is to get you as much as possible, but still make it work on our side of things. And we just kind of hope that it aligns. But I don't want to start saying 10% and things like that, because when you start doing the math, I mean, you're looking at $30,000, $35,000, and that's just a lot for somebody to digest.
Awesome. Ryan, you're the best. Thanks for being on here, bud.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me,
Love
guys.
you, man. See you soon.
Bye. See ya.
Incredible. Guys, is there a way, do you know, Luke and Matt, can people transcribe themselves on our show? They can get the transcription? Maybe. If you guys can get the transcription of what Ryan just said, and just put it in front of you and learn it word by word, and then put it into your own, like, make it unconscious, right? Put it into the way that you use inflections, the way that you use your voice, because I am telling you, that is, as Tom Kroll would call it, pure liquid gold, baby. And speaking of Tom Kroll, we've got him here. Welcome to the live show, Tom Kroll. How are you?
Bam! Oh, I love it.
Bringing the good vibes, Tom. How are you?
I was reminded first of all, Ryan, what
what a rock star. It's such a joy to be around, right? Whenever I'm with them, right, I'm laughing, I'm smiling, I put my guard down. I mean, that's part of it, right? You got to know, talk to people, not about the house, right? But what a great guy. What a blessing. And the thing what reminded me is you got to get a really good looking guy. I had Dan Toback. He has these bright blue lines. It looks like there's the eyes. It looks like there's headlights behind him. And he's got 22-inch biceps.
Yep.
And he goes in with the biggest smile. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can learn how to be like Ryan, or you could just find Ryan, which I prefer all the time, all day long. Ryan's great. I love it, Ryan. Bam.
Tom, Chad Coulter, who's our junior acquisition manager, he called me one day because Ryan was just on fire, right? I mean, the biggest problems that we ever run across, we put Ryan on. I mean, he was a cop for 12 years. He can diffuse everybody. He knows the psychology behind it. He knows how to use his tone. He knows how to build a friendship quickly. And he asked me, he's like, Brent, at your prime, when you were out there cold calling all day, going on appointments all day, locking up all the deals yourself, how good were you versus Ryan? And I was like, Ryan, every day, it's not even close. Not even close. Better than me. And that's the advantage of being a entrepreneur. Right. And when you have real conviction in your business, Tom, you get to recruit people that want to win. Right.
Hallelujah.
And yes. So not only that, you get to recruit people that are better than you at certain parts of the business. Let me hit you with this, Tom, because we've got 15 minutes with you. So I want to take full advantage. I watched this Gary Vee video last night and I wanted to talk to you about it. And I wrote that, I put in the notes. He said, life is one big game of self-esteem on one side and insecurities on the other. All right. And we have both. And he says, if you want to increase your self-esteem, increase your gratitude.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
What do you think?
I love it. I think, Dan Sullivan teaches us that the number one commodity you have to protect as an entrepreneur is your confidence. Right. So I think, I think gratitude is one way to do that. I think another way to do that is seeking harmony over balance, right? Because that's really a way to protect your confidence. You got to sometimes have a season, where you go all in. The reason I was able to attract Dan and the reason you were able to attract Ryan is because I was singularly focused and I had contagious enthusiasm about this thing that I was in love with. So I had a vision, I shared it all the time, and people wanted to be a part of it. And I had a really strong constitution, a strong conviction about what we were doing. Hey, this is not for everybody. Most people who have a home don't want to sell it. Most people who do want to sell it don't want to sell it at the price I want to give. So I need to understand I have a really, really good service that provides people who are in need in a situation they need to sell quickly for cash. And I was so excited about that. I was telling everybody I knew that Dan got on a plane and flew down, and other people quit jobs, and this one and that one came and dropped what they were doing, and they said, hey, I want to be a part of this amazing organization. I think that comes from having a lot of self-esteem in whatever you're working on, and clarity too, which I think is important.
He also said, this is the second part of this, think about how much time we spend thinking about what we don't have versus what we do have. How much energy, if you put that energy towards patience, love of learning, and have a willingness to serve our community through our business, we cannot lose.
Oh, brother, this is everything, right? This is about becoming, and this is why I love coaching, because it's kind of like that last step of becoming a master craftsman of what you do. It's you bringing your value to the marketplace in exchange for compensation, right? So I think that one of the things I learned being down in Florida and you in Arizona, right, is with a lot of retirees is never lose your usefulness to other people, right? Because that is a surefire way to just have a bad day. And I think that, I'm all in for, I think when you make it a materialistic, I remember a story. There was a guy that we both know who was in a group, and the one leader of the group bought an expensive thing. I'll kind of speak in not detail, but he bought something and the one guy in the group bought it. And then the next meeting, the guy had I think you know, I'm sorry. So he had a new version of this thing and the guy actually felt bad on something that he paid a fortune for. And this is how you end up, you keep moving the goalpost. But the real lesson here is there is no joy in running up the score of a one game, right? So these guys who continually move the goalpost, they're missing the whole thing. They're miserable. They're getting into old age. They have the money, they have the whatever, and their life is a mess, right? They keep moving that goalpost. And I think you just need to go all in on becoming a master craftsman of the value that your talents bring other people in the marketplace. And the trick is, right, once you do this once and you understand what a business is, you can do it again and again and again and again and have multiple businesses like you and I both do, running simultaneously, because you start to understand you don't have to chase cash. You just have to attract an amazing team and bring value to the marketplace. Speaking of, I'm getting alerts while I'm sitting here. Bitcoin, are you watching this thing? Just hit $93,000 a coin. What in the world is happening?
I bought a bunch of them under 20 grand.
I love it. I did the same thing.
It's crazy. Awesome? You know, I've actually got later in the show, I'm going to be breaking down this article about crypto's designs on real estate, which is really interesting.
Okay.
And so make sure that you guys stick around for that, because I think it's going to be an interesting shift in what some of our investors, if we're wholesalers, some of our investors are looking for in the future. I think it's going to be really huge, and it's something that we need to talk about. So make sure you guys stick around. But Tom, Bitcoin's going bananas. I mean, it's
bananas, brother.
It's crazy. Go ahead.
I just love how, like, when I first started, the stock market people were making fun of me for investing in real estate, right?
Yep.
Those were like my old corporate buddies. Then when I started to buy, I had some of my mentors say, hey, go into get some index funds. And the real estate people were laughing at me. Then some of my mentors said, hey, buy gold. And the stock market people were laughing at me for buying gold, which is now like more than doubled, right? Then I started buying, some of my mentors said, hey, go buy Bitcoin. And then the gold people and the stock market and the real estate were laughing at me. You got to just have really good mentors, do what they do. Don't try to figure it on your own. And that whole plan of that 50, 20, 25, 5 real estate stock, index fund.
Break that down, Tom.
Yeah, 50%. This is but what I'm not a financial advisor, but this is what I've been taught by my mentors, who are the best mentors in the country, hands down. And it's 50, 20, 25, 5. It's 50% real estate. It's 20% index fund. I like VTI. It's 20% cash. Don't let the real estate people laugh at you about having too much cash. You could earn 5% on cash all day long. It's 5% physical gold, and it's 5% speculation. That could be individual stocks, Bitcoin, Ethereum, hard money loans, whatever. You can break that down however you want. But that plan has not let me down, and it hasn't let my mentors down for decades. I love it. I live by it. It's what Julie and I do. It's diversified, and it gives you a ton of liquidity, equity, amazing assets. I love it. It's great. It's easy.
So you're saying, guys, put it in the chat so that we can keep this recorded forever. 50% real estate.
50% real estate.
20% index funds.
VTI is the best one, or the S&P 500, VOO if you like.
20% cash.
20% cash.
5%
physical gold.
5% mess around,
because we all have that gambler. But if 5% of Bitcoin now, we're going to have to do a readjustment, and you could readjust or rebalance or whatever you want to call it every year or every quarter. But this is, this has gone up quite a bit. I got this from Cam Dunlap. He gave it to me at a mastermind once. But this is this is incredible. I mean, it's incredible. I can't. I was getting last night 80, 81, 85, 88, and then this morning 89, 90, 91. 90. It's really something.
Well, I know that this is a real estate show, but this week, today I have made 31,000.
Yeah, brother.
Today. 31,000 on it since this morning, which is just bananas. And obviously, guys, it's going to go all over the place, right? It's going to do its thing. But Trump said that he wants to make America the hub of Bitcoin, and a lot of the other currencies around the world are losing value. So the wealthy people in those other countries, this is a worldwide thing. That's what people don't understand. I think we think that, we're used to currency just being, U.S. currency, but Bitcoin is worldwide. And so when other countries, they're protecting their assets by putting it into cryptocurrency. It's very interesting. Very, very, very interesting.
I think the thing to really be aware of, if you're a new wholesaler or you're a new real estate investor or a seasoned one, is a lot of us get into this game with the idea of we're going to sit on the beach with our laptop and put our feet in the sand and live off passive income from rentals. And you really want to, if that motivates you, right? If that's your driver when you're just starting, that's fine. But what you'll quickly learn is, if you think passive is, if your rentals are going to give you passive income, let me know the addresses of those properties so I can buy them for 60 cents on the dollar in a few years, right? So I think the thing is that you have to really be a good steward. The guys and girls that Brent and I know, some of the brokest people we know are the highest earners. And the bottom line is what you're going to come to realize is making the cash is awesome, but it's 49% earning and 51% being a good steward. You got to be an investor, not a saver, right? Robert Kiyosaki teaches us savers are losers. You got to be an investor, not a saver. You got to do things a little bit differently, follow the quadrant. But
well, and that brings me to a time where you have self-esteem on one side, you got insecurities on the other side. And I'm telling you, there has been moments in my career where the insecurities have really been the driver, really pushed me. It wasn't the self-esteem, it was the insecurities of, oh, what are the people from high school going to think, right after I got out of college, or the people that I went to college with, what are they going to think? What are people on social media going to think if I'm not this huge success, if I'm not going out there and balling out? And so there's insecurities there. And every time that happened, I would give it right back, because it was dark. It was, you know what I mean? It's like a dark energy, as opposed to self-esteem and gratitude and all these things that make you feel great and alive and makes you get up in the morning and makes you not want to go to escapism in some movie or drugs or booze or relationships or something like that. You want to love your life because you're having so much fun as an entrepreneur that you actually want to be in your life, not escape your life. And that's huge, I think.
Beautiful. I mean, and it's so serendipitous that you say this, right, brother? So if anybody wants this, they can email me. It's Atomic Coaching Inc., and I'll send you a copy. This right here is a book. I'll give you the printable version. And this is just how I read all my books. I print them out I do 15, but you could do 8 pages a day, get a highlighter and a pen. And this is covered with this book right here. The old books are the good books. It talks exactly about what Mr. Daniels is talking about right now, and it's a game changer because these things can both be a driver. And rock bottom.
How can people get that, Tom?
Tom@coachinginc.com. Send me
Tom
an email.
at coachinginc.com. Check that out. He'll send you this. What are we going to learn in that?
Oh, this book, the exact thing that you're talking about, these poisons to self-discipline, to getting up and to doing it and taking care of yourself and your family and your community and all these people who are depending on you so you could ring the victory bell every day. And these poisons of insecurity and the fear of failure, and most importantly for almost all of you, the fear of success, which is really the driver. He talks about that in here. But all of these things that poison the well and what comes up against you when you go to, as soon as you make this decision, I'm going to wholesale my first deal or my next deal, or I'm going to do a bigger deal, I'm going to do fewer deals, or I'm going to acquire a commercial building. As soon as you start, I guarantee you something is going to come up against you. It's just the way the universe works. It tests your grit to see if you really want it. And this book is going to help you plow right through that obstacle. And the obstacle is the way. Ryan Holiday teaches us this great book. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday is a phenomenal book that you guys should check out too. Any book written by Ryan Holiday. Look at that good looking guy. We have the best looking people on this show.
I'll tell you what, Rafael Cortez, here he is.
Long business. How are you, brother? Rafael Cortez.
Man?
It's
The
been
guy
too
who
long.
introduced me to
It's been over a month since we all got together. This feels really, 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 really good. So Tom's talking about a book that he's going to send to everybody that sends him an email at tom@coachinginc.com. It is Self-Discipline in 10 Days. But nobody wants to be disciplined, Tom. We want to be motivated.
Oh man,
We want to be motivated. We want to be pumped up, bro. We want energy. We want to, get our body in a different state, right? How do you do that, with discipline? You can't do that with discipline. Discipline's too, that's too much like boot camp.
It's
I don't want to do
boring,
that.
Tom.
I think the thing that really, I remember when I was on that Bigger Pocket show and I was so excited with Brandon and Josh was like, man, are you on drugs? And I was like, you know what? Damn right. Because because I went till I was 33. And when you go that long, and the real secret to discipline is, I think, is passion. Because when you go, the motivation is great to get started, but that really understanding what business is and how all this stuff works are the fundamentals. They're in the old books, and the motivation is great, but that discipline is what carries you through and just brightens every day. And you leap out of bed, right? Like Scott Alexander teaches us in Rhinoceros Success. You leap out of bed at 6 a.m. I'm leaping out of bed at 4 a.m. Julie's like, get out of bed quietly. You're waking me up.
It's because you want to live your life. You don't want to escape your life, Tom, because you have a vision of what you're excited about. First of all, you have goals around that, which that is a vision, and you feel good providing value. Right? When you're providing value, you want to live in your life. You don't want to escape your life. And I think that's a huge thing. And especially as you're getting started, when you're making that transition from watching Netflix at night to watching this channel at night to listening to podcasts as opposed to listening to, the top 40 hip hop jams that are blasting right now and all this other stuff. Let the 95% do that. The 5% that are going to provide all the jobs for everybody else and all the opportunities for everybody else in the form of businesses. We have to be different. We have to be the ones that love our life because we feel good providing value. That's the difference. That's the distinguish. If you want to, who's going to make it in this business? Who's going to make it long term and have a profitable business and really change the financial future of their family tree? It's the people that fall in love with the work and their life because the value they provide gives them the self-esteem.
100%. Touching on the discipline thing, the crazy thing is that discipline gives you the motivation. Like, how many times have you woken up in the morning and you're just not motivated to do anything? But you have the discipline to go to the gym, you show up to the gym. Next thing you know, 2-3 sets into it, for example, right? Like, you're all into it and you're getting hyped up, and then you're all fueled by the time you get out of there. It's the thing, the discipline will give you the motivation as well. And sometimes, like, even as much as we don't like to accept it, right? It's that's how it works. It's doing the day in, day out. I feel like that carries us through
Matt,
through those moments of hype, right?
Matt, can you there's a Google motivation versus discipline and go to images. There's one where it's like motivation's this big chart and then it dies out and then discipline's going across. Can you put that up? I want to show that.
Right here too, Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. What he's going to teach you in this book, one of the best books ever written. It's my top 21 books. Stephen is going to teach you that amateurs show up when they're inspired. Yep. Professionals show up and inspiration shows up, right? And once you do that, I am telling you, if you're suffering right now, your life is going to turn around. The people who have that arrow pointed in all day, where they're just regurgitating the same victim story all day and the pains, and they throw pity parties and feeling sorry, those people have the most suffering. You got to take that arrow every day and you got to face it towards other people. The marketplace, it's not about do what you love and you'll never. No. You do what the market loves, and in that good work, you will find things that you love and that you're excited about and you're looking forward to. I mean, this stuff is easy, but it's just as easy a trap to fall into. It's a sticky trap, and then you could be stuck in it for years and years. And it's very, we talk about it a lot, but a lot of people out there suffering every single day, and they're so much stronger and better than they even realize. They're made in his image. You guys are strong. You're powerful. Just get up and go and do it and be focused on other people, not yourself. When we're focused on ourselves, it's dark and dingy and it's dangerous.
I love it. Guys, put a rhinoceros emoji in the chat for Tom Kroll. If you love Tom Kroll, show it. Prove it, baby. Prove it. Put a rhinoceros in the
man,
chat. Let
the
him
myth,
see it.
the
We love when
legend.
Tom Kroll comes on. I love it. Absolutely. Gets me so excited.
I've always thought of Tom as a parade, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like things are steady, and then here comes Tom Kroll.
The parade's coming.
All kinds of stuff, and then there goes Tom Kroll, and things just kind of mellow out again. It's like that was Tom right there. That was Tom's energy.
Man,
I talk about it all the time.
I owe you one for that introduction to Hulk Hogan, man. That was to the Hulk. That was
That was so
man.
fun. It
Bro,
so
that
fun.
was a game. That book, Conspiracies, it's my number one favorite book of all time. And I got to sit with them and tell them all about it. I was like, what an opportunity. So I still owe you one for that. Thank you.
That was wild. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Awesome. Tom, thanks for being on here. You're the best.
Enjoy the day, guys. God bless.
Love you, bro.
Talk soon.
Love you, man.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Tom.
Kroll,
Yeah.
the head rhino right there. Absolutely. Guys, we call him the head rhino. He introduced me to a book called Rhinoceros Success. Scott Alexander is a good friend of his who wrote the book. And it's a phenomenal book, easy read, maybe 115, 120 pages, but really just keeps you focused on charging towards your goals and not letting anything kind of stick in you like I think they call it the torpedoes hitting you. You have thick skin because you need it as an entrepreneur for sure, especially in the real estate business. So guys, put some rhinoceroses in the chat. Only Edwin is being proactive here, and he's going bananas. Thank you, Edwin.
Edwin's
awesome.
always game.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting book. It's very, like you said, it's short, it's compact, but it has like all the I feel like the essentials that we need to kick off with.
Yep.
You told me about that. It wasn't even Tom. I think you told me about
Yep.
that book a long time ago. But yeah, it's a really good book.
Guys, thank you for participating. We want to reward you guys for being in the chat and bringing great energy in the chat. So Matt is going to be watching. Alejandra just had her baby Leo, and so she is out of the office for a bit, which is really exciting. And actually, guys, give some love. Matt is going to be having his baby girl this weekend, which is exciting. So
It's
he's going to
baby
be
season,
out for a
fam.
little bit. So a little bit short-staffed on our end, but very exciting on the new human life end,
Oh yeah.
which is pretty cool,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is exciting. So
Excited for Alejandra.
congratulations to Matt and to Alejandra. So exciting to have some baby rhinos running around in the office here. But we want to give, if you'll hand me those there, guys, we'll give you your choice. We're not going to be throwing darts at balloons today, but whoever's participating the most in the chat will have an option of either a hat, this dope zip up Rhino hoodie, or because somebody didn't claim it, we already gave this away, but they didn't give us our address, so it's still available. The beautiful blue-eyed kitten trapper keeper, which you guys know, it not only traps, but it keeps. All right. And inside that, we're going to give the master lead sheet that we use for when we're pre-qualifying our property leads. It's all right here. And Henry Washington's incredible book, Real Estate Dealmaker.
It's a good
We'll
book.
put it in there if you want it, or if you just want the swag, we can do the swag there. But
Just
it's up to
this is
you guys.
this is gonna be worth like $1 million and it's vintage stuff.
It's-
man.
it's super
This is-
vintage.
This is yeah.
It's super vintage.
Yeah. It's kind of like buying a classic.
Who else has that?
Nobody.
You walk into like
Only
a
the real
a
ones.
conference
Yeah.
with a beautiful blue-eyed kitten, purple trapper keeper.
You're it.
They're gonna be like, "Did you get that on
Yeah.
Brent Daniels live show with
Yeah.
Rafael Cortez?"
They know what's up.
They know what's
They know
happening.
what's up.
Guys, I want to invite you guys. There's an incredible training if you're just getting started in this business, looking to get your first deal or really build that momentum, and you're a little bit confused about where to start, guys. This training that I did in collaboration with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is available. You guys can watch that on demand anytime. Make sure that you put it in now, save it for after the show. But Rich Dad and Brent.com, Rich Dad and Brent.com. Go check that out when you have some time. It's probably about 40 minutes, and it is absolutely going to speak to you. It's going to speak to exactly, I think, what you're trying to accomplish, and the story behind my journey in that, and how staying really focused on finding discounted property is the most proven path to financial freedom. So make sure that you guys check that out. Okay. Awesome. Yeah,
Love
nobody
it.
uses Trapper Keepers. I know. It's old school. It's like the 80s and 90s babies. So I'm just bringing it back, a little bit of nostalgia for you. So
Well,
there you go.
and it I'm sure it would help with deals too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's almost like you're calling the deals in. With the
No,
Trapper
that's not the
Keeper.
chart I wanted, Matt. That's not it. Anyway, we'll find that motivation versus discipline chart, and we'll put that up there. But I do want to let you guys know. There you go. Edwin's a 80s baby. If you guys are, let me just put in a little bit of a allow plug here for our entire screen. Chrome tab window. No, I'm going to go Chrome tab. Share. Guys, we're going to be talking about crypto has designs on real estate after we talk to Todd Toback. Todd Toback is the best of the best when it comes to sales training, but we're going to be talking about this in just a bit. We've got, hold on, I got to share this thing. Stop sharing. Go to here.
Todd was the first podcast I ever heard.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
one of he's been doing it since like 2012, I think.
Yeah,
Absolutely
it's right
incredible.
around when I first.
Yeah.
When I
Ben
heard
wants a
the first
Trapper
podcast.
Keeper. I see you. I see you. We're gonna share the screen here, guys.
Ben, Edwin's coming for you.
Yeah, that's it. Guys, here is that training I was mentioning before. It is it's awesome. Limited time replay. Make sure that you go check that out. richdadandbrent.com. There we go. Awesome. How are things, Raph? Talk to me.
Good. Moving well.
Any changes after the election in your business?
Yeah, we're seeing buyers wake up.
Yep.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more activity. I actually talking to Jeremy. I gave him our SOP on Dispo a couple of weeks back, but I mean, they're just waking up. They're more active. They're coming
Literally
out.
the
Yeah.
morning after.
Yeah.
Jeremy
No
was
joke.
getting blown up.
Yeah.
Blown up. Right?
I knew it was gonna happen. I mean, I knew something like that was gonna kick in if it went this way.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know it was gonna be like that obvious. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
literally, like next morning, it's like, all right, cool, we're ready to buy. Let's go.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen for there's a lot of talk about deportation, right?
Yeah.
And some of the way that they're saying that it's going to go down is they're going to send notices giving people 90 days and saying, hey, listen, in 90 days, you need to get out of here. We know where you're at. We know that you're paying taxes on some level or something's
Right.
going on, right? And you have 90 days to get out. Do you think that we're going to see in some of these communities a lot of homes that are going to be sold because of that and people moving? Do you think that they're just going to, put other family members on the title? Like what is happening? Because this is a conversation that I watched last night and I don't remember where it was. It was some clip on YouTube that I was watching and they were saying that it gives them time to sell their house, it gives them time to move their stuff and pack up and not just be like, boom, arrested and deported.
I think, well, culturally it's one of those things that happens, right? And I see it like with my family but anytime we get a little scared, a little afraid, it's like, oh, let's just, check our bases and just in case something happens and you're almost thinking about the worst.
Yeah.
So I think there are going to be sales, even if they don't end up leaving, maybe they'll rent something else, but like just in case, I'm just going to sell the property and monetize on it.
Got it.
So I do think there's going to be opportunity there. And
do you think it's a lot? Do you think that there's,
dude, people been buying, how long have been, people buying properties just off of the tax ID number?
Right.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So explain that. So you can buy a property. What is it? ITIN?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So instead of having a social security number, a lot of programs were allowing or financing properties just based off of employee, it's just an EIN, right? Employee
tax identification number.
Tax ID,
Yep.
ITIN, it's called.
Mhm.
So doing that, it allows you, right, to buy the property and then still you pay for the taxes and all that stuff. So
Individual tax identification number.
Right.
Okay.
But exactly. And it's not a thing that was it's for years, for as long as I can remember. Dude, I was doing loans and 2006-7 when adjusted rate mortgages and all that stuff were kicking in, but right afterwards the next thing was like ITINs. So anyways, I think there's a lot of inventory out there that people bought property under those I guess opportunities, right?
Right.
And it's gonna It's bound to do something, especially if they go through with deportation and everything that they want to do on that side.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to see inventory. We are
Interesting.
going to see inventory.
Very interesting.
We've gotten over the last week.
Right there.
People
Look at that. Who is that? Christian 10. I purchased 15 properties from one guy because he is getting deported. Fact.
Yeah, there you go. Over the last, well, that's one side of the coin, right? Too, on the other side, we've literally gotten, I don't know, maybe I think last week 2 or 3 PPC leads that came in because they were going to leave the country.
Yeah.
So you have the other side of the party.
Oh, because
like we're leaving the country.
They don't believe they don't agree with the politics.
Yeah, they don't agree with the politics, and so now they want to leave the country. It's like, man, it's. I mean, in my head, it's a little extreme, but it's a real thing that's happening, right? We're seeing it. So yeah.
Absolutely incredible, guys. We're going to have Todd Toback here in just a bit. We were talking about the theme of this show before we got into the heart of entrepreneurship, which is what Tom Kroll brings to this show every single week that we do this show. But before that, we were talking about how to justify our offer price to the property owner. Right?
Yeah.
They want to know why we are offering what we're offering. And I started with this, and I think this is really important. And everybody that's just jumping on now, I started with this because this is a critical thing to say to a property owner, and really a mentality to have going into a conversation when you're just direct to property owner. I can't tell you what you should sell your house for. I can only tell you how much I can pay. What do you think?
I love it. I mean, and it's at the base of it, it's about as transparent as we get, right? Like as we can get, really. Another phrase that I think clarifies the conversation quite well is, I wish I could tell you what you want to hear, but the reality is, for example, I use that one when people are fighting me on the comps, that we have solid comps and we have a range of comps, and maybe talking about the lower comps. You know, listen, I wish I could tell you what you want to hear, but the property is worth 400. However, yours is not rehabbed and it's outdated and it's this and that. So open up with that statement, and it's almost like leveling and kind of putting people on the same page. But yeah, I like this one. I can only tell you how much I can pay. At the end of the day, I mean, price is dictated by the buyer, right? Like always, talked about it that way. How do you work then, like on the numbers, when you go for the spread, when you go to when you start working out or your assignment, fee on it? How do you go about it in your business? And I'll take you.
So these are the first 2 questions, right? And going back to it, guys, just this is the training for today. This is what you need to implement. If they are not giving you a price and you're trying to figure out what their expectations are, you need to figure out these 2 numbers. Totally fixed up. What do you think the property's worth? Right?
Yeah.
Totally fixed up. What do you think the property's worth? And the second one is, how much would you budget to make the house look perfect? Those 2 numbers. So when we're looking at it, Matt, switch me to the, let me get out of this actually. You figure out these, and then you can explain some of these.
Right.
Now, what Ryan was saying is he's keeping this off. He's I know that you need to make a profit. How much are you going to make on this house?
Yep.
Right. And Ryan has a unique position because as the acquisition manager, he can say, well, I don't know. I'm not the boss. Right. All I know is we can't lose on the property. So I know a price that we can't lose at. And this is, where we're at. And I don't know what the profits are. That's for the owner of the company. Right. So I'm the other guy. I'm the one that he kind of pushes it out on. And so he can still have that rapport with them and not be like, bro, we got to make 50K minimum, or it's just not worth it. Our time. We're not even getting out of bed for under $40,000. You know what I mean? And so that's really powerful. And he brought that to it. I always broke it down. I would tell them. And I think I probably got out of alignment with some of the sellers that I talked to back in the day. But Ryan's way better than me. So, I mean, but he also has that advantage. He has that advantage that I'm his underwriter. Yeah. I'm the one when he says I have to show the videos and the pictures to my construction guys and my finance guys. That's me and Jeremy. We are that. I mean, we know how to break down the construction costs, and we know what we can pay for it.
Right.
He goes in and goes, I'm just here for you. I'm just here to work with you, communicate with you what we can pay, not what you should do. Yep. That puts him in such a better position than just hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, I love it.
Yeah.
You already worked is Todd coming on right now, or is it taking a minute?
Yeah. He's confused on the link.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll break it down after the call.
Yeah.
But so I mean, you already broke down the numbers. My approach is very similar. In the conversation, I have 4 different spots where I build a fee into the deal. So it's not going for the jugular all the time, right? Like,
Talk about it.
So when you open up, first thing that you have to understand is you got to be on the same page as to how much the property is worth, right? So you're always going to have a range, high comps, lower comps. The initial part of my conversation always focuses on getting on that same page about maybe staying on the lower third of the comps, right? Once you have, for example, if you have a property that's worth $200,000 and the comps are between 150,000 to 220,000, right? You are going to have comps in the 170s, 180s. You're also going to have maybe a 210, a 220, right? So you have that range. You don't want to lock it up on the high comps. You lock it up on the low comps. It sounds basic, but it pushes you through the finish line, and it builds a bigger assignment fee. So anyways, we get on the same page, right? Say that we both agree that the property is worth 180. Okay, cool. Now we just built a little bit of cushion into the front end of the deal, just based off of that conversation. From that point forward, there's a couple of things that people are going to be so ready to fight you on. Property repairs being one of them, right? You get into the property repairs, trust me, they probably took notes on how to push back and where to push back. And no, the rehab expenses are not going to be, $30,000. They don't do the business, so a lot of them don't understand. They look at the TV shows and they think that's it. But so we don't push super hard on that. However, we end up with another cushion right after we have that conversation. So that's 2 points. One is building some spread or some cushion for profit with the lower end comps. The second one is having some additional cushion for profit on those repairs needed. Now, the third one, which you broke down here, is Mr. Seller, regardless of who sells this property, there's always going to be expenses, right?
Selling costs.
To be handled. So it's going to be selling costs. If it's you, if it's us, it doesn't matter who it is. So you go through that and you broke it down on your math back here. You have that third point, right? So now you build another cushion for profit in throughout the conversation. So it goes from, building maybe a 10K spread at the beginning to adding another 5, 15, or, 5 or 10 on the rehab costs. And then, on the expenses, and it starts to create this map for a logical offer, right? Like logical offer. So you get to that point, you get the contract signed. Now we come back and do a second underwriting. Maybe my cash buyers shouldn't listen to this part so they can tune out for a little bit. But we do a second underwriting on the back end of it, right? And we sell the deal based off of the high comps. So now you build a fourth cushion for profit on that one, right?
Guys, this is a masterclass right now. I'm over here getting Todd over here in the right email, and Raphael's giving you an absolute masterclass on all of this, on the approach with the seller and the approach with the buyer. I love it.
Yeah, so you have 4 different points, right, where you can tap into and build, $5,000 spread into it. That's how you end up with the $30,000 deals.
That's it.
$40,000 deals.
That's
20s. It. What's your guys' average revenue per deal right now?
25. 24 and some change, but yeah.
If you go across the country and you talk to almost everybody out there, like the averages are going to be somewhere between the 12 and the 15 range, something like that.
Yeah.
Right? But that's how you do it. You have to be a little bit methodical, and then just have this logical explanation of the math that you're putting in front of them. So
love it. Yeah. Guys, we got him for the first time in the live show, and maybe, I don't know, a year, 18 months, 24 months. It's been too long. Nevertheless, it's my mentor, Tom's mentor, the mentor to, I don't know, his family tree of mentorship runs super far, super wide, and super deep. Go ahead.
He got me started in wholesaling.
And Raphael's. Oh my goodness, Todd Toback. Todd, how are you?
What's going on, my man?
We made it happen. Welcome.
Good to see you, man.
We're talking about justifying our offer price to property owners. What do you think about that, Todd?
Well, first of all, great to be here. You two are just total rock stars. I'm just so impressed with what Brent's done and teaching so many investors across the country. So if you are a listener to the show, I mean, you guys are just listening to the best. So really, really excited. I know Raphael is a total rock star. So thank you for inviting me for the show.
We're just standing on the shoulders of a giant here, Todd. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, so I got to tell you, when I saw the subject of today's show, it was a little triggering for me, Brent.
I know. I wanted to trigger you, and I know what's coming, Todd. I know. I think the word justify is
man. You complete me, all right? Because the first word of this thing was justify, and I'm going to come back to that.
Yep.
In a second, okay? But really, at the end of the day, what everybody here is for is they want to lock up a big, fat, juicy wholesale deal, right? And so they can get a huge check, right? That is what the end result of what we're looking at. And I don't know where you are in your journey if you're listening to the show, but the key word there is justify, and you do not want to justify, right? You want to persuade, you want to comfort, you want to offer value in exchange, right, for the seller, basically giving you equity in their home. And so if I'm going to talk about 5 different ways that you can quote unquote justify, or basically be able to have the seller be happy to give you the price that you need to be able to make an acceptable profit. Okay. So the first thing that I'd like to do is have everybody listening to this. You got to have a checkup from the neck up. And what Brent had mentioned, we're talking about average deal size. I want to implore you to start thinking more of yourself. If you expect a $10,000 deal, you will get a $10,000 deal. If you expect 15, you'll get 15, 20, 20. If you've been in this business for any length of time, you will notice that your deals tend to have the same size profit. Right? The people who do 10 do 10, the people who do 20, 20. And so in our business, in my joint venture partners, you will see that we are at 40, 50, 60, 70, and we're always pushing that. Sure, we'll have the outliers where we'll make 100, 150, you know, we've even done a 250 before. I've known people who've done 7 figures, but you'll notice that really those deals tend to hover. And I've seen Brent talk about this on the show, is that wherever your thermostat is, that's where the deal is going to end up. So you have, before you go into that appointment, before you meet with that seller, your brain has to be in the right place. You have to be expectant, okay, of the big deal. How long do I have, by the way?
Unlimited. I'll keep you on here for the next 12 hours if we can.
We'll camp out.
Okay. So that's awesome. So the key word here, though, is before I get into the skills, is expectancy. I'm going to tell a couple of stories. This weekend, I was at the Jets-Cardinals game, and I texted.
Yeah. How'd that go, Todd?
Well, it didn't go too well for the New York Jets, okay? But but where I'm going with this crazy story is the Jets got absolutely murdered, obliterated. And I kind of set that expectation with my son, right? Because this is outside of our control, right? But I said, we are going to have an amazing time. Now, the crazy thing was, I said, is when this game is over, okay, I said, we're going to get signatures from the players for you, right? That was the standard. We said that is what we were going to do. So the stadium was empty. Okay, we wiped our tears away. And we just waited, right? We just waited, and we went up to the lady in the front, and we said, hey, do the players come through here? And she says, as a matter of fact, you're in luck. You're on the visitor sideline. They come right to the stadium. They walk through here. You're in the perfect position. So we're waiting there. Not only that, the attendant comes and he throws my son a pair of the gloves from one of the players. So throws them to my son, has them. If you want, I'll send them to the show. I'll send them to you so you can maybe post them on the YouTube channel. But gave him a pair of just, once worn game gloves from one of the Jet players, and he got that. And then we're waiting, and then 2 players come by. Olu Fashanu is an offensive lineman for the Jets, and then Malachi Corley, one of the 3rd round picks, comes over, gets some pictures, and it was such a special moment for my son. So anyway, the funny thing is I'm looking around, and I'm like, hey, where'd you get that? I'm talking to my son. I'm like, where'd you get that Sharpie? And he goes, oh, I knew that I wanted signatures, and so I packed it. And I was like, son, and he goes, but I didn't want to tell Sierra because I didn't want her to tell me that I couldn't do it. And I was like almost in tears. It's like, son, I was like, you know, we got this today because we expected this, right? You wanted it. You took the action. I said, if you didn't expect it, we wouldn't have waited in the stadium. We wouldn't have asked the attendant, right? We wouldn't have called the players to come over, right? It just would not have happened. Meanwhile, everybody else just left the stadium.
Love it.
Right. And so we walked away with that. And so if you're listening to this, this applies to a losing football team and signatures, but it also applies to your wholesaling business. And so what you expect is what you will get. You have to start there or nothing else matters. Okay. Now let's get into actual strategy here. Okay. I'm going to tell another story. Is basically the first way to condition or to convince or justify a seller starts from the moment that you walk in. Okay. And the interesting thing is that you need leads, and you need consistent leads, and you need a lot of leads. It reminds me of the scene in Rocky 1 or Rocky 2, and his coach is Mickey, and he's screaming at Rocky. And he's like, man, you're fighting Apollo Creed. He's like, you need speed. You need speed. You need speed. And I don't know why, whenever I hear that, but all I hear is, you need leads. You need leads.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't have enough leads, when a seller comes in your world, you're going to be holding on to that seller. And you're going to have what they call commission breath, where the seller senses you're desperate and they are going to be running the other way. Okay? When you have leads, it gives you confidence, gives you certainty. And you can tell yourself, hey, if I don't get the price that I need here, okay, I can just walk away. Now, here's the great thing. You don't need to spend millions of dollars on leads. You don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars on leads. What you need is a consistent drip of leads. That's it. Drip, 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 drip. And if you've got maybe 2 leads come in a day, okay, really, when you look at that, between 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 10 is going to be something special, right? And so as you start, right, at the end of a week, if you just generate 2 leads a day, that's going to be 10 leads a week, and you got between a half and 1 really, really good lead a week. And at the end of a month, you've got 4. And at the end of 2 months, you got 8. At the end of 3 months, you got 12 of really, 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 really good leads that are ready to close. Okay. And so that's going to give you the posture. So I'm going to start there. The second thing that I'll talk about. Am I doing okay?
The first one is leads.
Yeah. Number 1 is leads. And you have to have consistent leads, and you got to drip them. Number 2 is justifying. Okay. Now I will say, I like this word in the matter, because your seller does not call you because they want the best price. If you think that is, okay, then why are they on the phone with you to begin with? Right? If the seller wanted the highest price, they would have fixed up the property, they would have listed with a real estate agent, and they would have been done with it, right? You never would have had that conversation. So for some reason, they have decided to call you, someone who pays cash, someone who can close quickly, someone who can not have to, have a million different showings, right? And have to get a loan. So they're on the phone with you with a reason. So the issue is, have you presented yourself in a way that gives you the credibility, says, you know what, this person is the easy button, right? When we shop for a contractor or any kind of service, when we and my wife, we first got married, we used to just, choose the cheapest one, right? And we've suffered the consequences of that. But now, my wife is at a place where she's like, hey, I want reputable people, coming in. I don't want creepos coming through. I want people who are going to get the job done fast. So price has become not the most important factor to her. So it's the website, it's the Google My Business listing, it's how they show up to the meeting, how they look like, right? How they talk and present themselves, right? And so that's very, very, very important. And so you want to have your web presence all set up. You want to have your Google My Business and reviews all up. You want to show up on time and have that. And then you also want to have little micro commitments beforehand. So if you said you'd call them at 3, call them at 3.
Micro commitments.
Micro commitments. Okay. So if you, again,
So underrated, Todd.
Hmm.
Micro commit. I'm telling you, like, I'm going to call you at 3 and then all of a sudden it's 3:06. Oh, you're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those little things matter. Or hey, I'll show up at your house at a 2:30 appointment and you're sitting out in front at 2:15.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like these things are huge, guys. Showing up and you actually brushed your teeth and your hair and you're wearing, you know, a polo and you've got clean shoes on. Those things are micro commitments. Those things matter, right? It shows a level of professionalism. And you might be walking in to a house that has a foot of dog turds in the entire house. I don't care. But showing up and being professional is a huge advantage. And those are the micro commitments I think you're talking about here, Todd.
Those are the micro commitments, because think about this, is that we are in a world where I encourage people to go hyper local now. Right? Hyper local, show up belly to belly where they can, because you've got a ton of people trying to do virtual wholesaling, you know, across multiple states. And hey, good for them, right? The issue is that they have no specialty, no market knowledge. You know, the seller's talking to them and have no idea if they're legit. And you, as the local home buyer, right, who's showing up face to face, has all this opportunity now to quote unquote justify, right, the value you bring. So think about this for a moment. The value that we bring in this equation, right, is not the money. Remember that, right? It's the mental stress that you're taking off, right? It's the fact that they can leave the stuff behind. It's the fact that they say, hey, you know what? If I sell to this guy, are my neighbors going to come in and see that turd that you just were referring to, right? Or, you know, is this guy going to insulate me from the embarrassment of how far I've let this house go? Do not underestimate how much that is worth to a seller. A seller will leave $100K of equity on the table to avoid their neighbors coming into the house.
The people that inherit properties, Todd, we have seen a ton of times, and we've done a ton of these deals because we went full PPC and TV and all inbound leads. I will tell you the amount of inherited properties, the family members are so embarrassed by the way that they let their parents live. It's like they feel bad.
Yeah.
That they let the house do this because they've been running their own lives. They've been doing their own thing. They've told them to clean up and do this, but they just haven't, or whatever else. And they're super embarrassed. It's a huge factor. People don't, not everybody wants to put their house, you know, broadcast all the pictures of their house on the interwebs for everybody to see forever. Right. Because those pictures stay on there forever. You can go to Redfin and they don't even take the pictures down from old listings after the listing pictures get taken down. It's crazy. It stays there forever. And a lot of people recognize that. And a lot of people don't want to deal with that emotionally.
Yeah. You know, so the first part obviously is the lead. The second part is, you know, keeping those and building that credibility, right? Because now you've got the leads. Number two, now you built the credibility.
Yep.
Okay. Now this one is the big one. Okay. And you got a lot of people who are green looking at this, where you only need one justification, and this is going to be controversial. But I can tell you, this is something that I've just only fully understood by being as seasoned as I am. The only justification that you need for your price is the fact that you need to make a profit. Okay, I'm going to repeat.
That's hard. That's hard, Todd. Right?
It's hard. Okay. So the other thing that I can tell you that really puts me in a really strong negotiation position is that I never lie.
Yep.
Okay. And once you start lying, even the little tiny little lies I'm going to talk about there in a second, man, oh man, number one, it changes your posture. You feel a little slimy. Then all of a sudden you're going to have to deal with the seller and kind of walk that back. If you need a reduction later, you are cooked, right? And so the only justification that you need is you got to make a profit. The problem is this. some people say, oh, I'm going to point out the roof, and I'm going to point out the mold, and I'm going to point out the window, and I'm going to point out the fact that how much work it is, right? And you're doing this. First of all, if you do that, you are dead in the water. Here's why. Because if the seller has any brains, they will start adding this up in their head, right? And if you are trying to do big, fat, juicy deals, right? Well, then you're just setting yourself up for the absolute minimum profit. So if you start justifying by the actual amount of work it needs, right? And then actually acting like you're going to fix it up, right? Not only are you lying, but you're setting up for failure, because my reasoning is, hey, I've got to make a profit. This takes time, and it takes my energy. It takes my expertise. Those are the things that it takes, okay? And that's what I'm going to give you, okay? Now, this goes back to value. Do you value what you do? Because I can tell you what, I love this business, because in no other business do you give a seller exactly what you promised them than any other business. I don't know if I said that right, but in this business, there's no market, right? The seller has this hurt, they have this pain, they have this, this itch, right? And you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to end this for you right now and give you all cash. I'm going to take it away. I'm going to do this right now. And guess what? We do that. And guess what? You gave them exactly what they promised. And the feeling they get is just a huge relief. And so you got to believe that in your soul. And when you give that, so that is the value, where you tell the seller, hey, listen, I'm going to relieve you of this. I'm going to send you on to the next chapter. You can leave this stuff behind. The neighbors don't have to walk in. And I'm going to take care of this right now. You can even hug me and I'll hold you like a teddy bear here. Okay, but I'm going to make it all better. And you give that to them, and that is the only justification you need. Now, you may go back and forth, and you may go and haggle on price a little bit, but the justification should always be based on the fact that you have to be able to make a profit.
Well, won't they get mad, Todd?
They'll get more mad if you're trying to justify the repairs. Because as soon as you start justifying the repairs, you want to talk about getting mad.
Yeah.
Because you now are going to create an adversarial relationship where they're saying, that's not mold. And you're like, yeah, it is. And they're like, the roof doesn't need to be replaced. And you're like, yes, it does. Even if you're totally right and the thing is caving in, you are arguing.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So no one's going to argue with the fact that you have to make a profit. Right. And believe me, I got to tell you, the deals that I have made the most money on, the sellers were the happiest.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The ones where I had to scratch and claw and fight to make 10K. Oh my gosh. Those are the ones who are mad.
Yeah. So we've got leads, we got credibility, we got justification.
Mm-hmm. The fourth one's going to be your ability to walk away.
Nice.
Okay. So your ability to walk away. Now, this is going to really be hard for a lot of people, because this is the mental game. So a lot of people are like, well, listen, why don't I just, if going back to that minimum profit, right? My recommendation is that you should be at $50,000. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I've heard many wholesalers say, and a lot of my joint ventures partners say, well, the seller wouldn't go any lower. And so instead of making nothing, I decided to make $15,000.
I have this conversation every month, Todd.
Every month.
Every month with the acquisition team.
Now, if you're watching this, I am hitting my head. I want to rip my eyelashes out. Because I want to help your acquisition specialist and your students and me make more money.
Mm-hmm.
True story. I had a joint venture partner come back to me and say, hey, this deal right here, the sellers weren't motivated. I had a haggle here, and instead of making nothing, I'm going to make 10K. And I'm like, he's like, that's it. They're totally sophisticated. And their kids are a professional baseball player. And the mom used to be a real estate agent. So I said, the funny thing is that that's like one of the first things that came out of your mouth when you told me about this deal, was that the professional baseball player and the mom used to be a real estate agent. Like, that's the first thing that you told me. Right. And so you've already tried to psych yourself out of this deal that these sellers were, quote unquote, too sophisticated. Okay.
Yep.
Now, before I tell you on the end of this deal,
They tell me they're savvy. This seller is savvy. That's what
they're savvy.
Ryan and Joshua and Chad tell me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so ironically, savvy in one area does not mean savvy in another, right? And a lot of times the beauty of what we do is that we never trick anybody, right? These people just want this pain to go away. And in the vast majority of cases, sellers know what their houses are worth.
Mm-hmm.
It also weakens your position if you try to justify and tell them their house is worth less, right? Total weak move is that, again, tell them what their house is worth, right? If you tell them what it's worth as is, tell them what it's worth fixed up. It doesn't matter, right? Your only justification is that you have to make a profit. So funny story within the story is one of our best deals we actually bought from the former head of the National Association of Realtors. And it's really funny because we could have easily psyched ourselves out on that one, right?
Sure.
So we talked about savvy, but
Yeah.
he rented to them, and the kids were babies when the people who were living in the property were actually the kids of the people who he originally rented to. And the current tenants were like, he held them like when they were a baby, right? So he's like, I used to hold these kids when they're baby, and now I'm their landlord, and yet again, I just can't deal with this. We're not buying the house. Going back to the other story here is I said, we're not doing the deal. We're not doing this $10,000 deal. Tell him, forget it. No way, no how. Tell him you made it. And he's like, what? You know, like there's no way, you know, I'm giving up this 10,000 and blah, blah, blah. I said, it's 50K or we're canceling. He goes, well, what do I say? I said, well, you're never going to go into a deal expecting to get a reduction. But since we're here, I want you to call him up and I want you to tell him that you made a huge mistake and it's totally your fault and they're extremely sorry, and that you know that you're the worst person on earth. meaning the acquisition specialist.
Right.
You made a huge mistake on price. And I want you to cancel them, and I want you to give them a name of 3 realtors they can call who can list their house for top dollar. And I said, just cancel it. Don't worry. And I said, just save the relationship, but just take all the blame. Now, he called, making that call, he called with the assumption that they were just going to cancel. Anyway, my phone rings 15 minutes later. Oh, man, you were right. There's something else going on. I got the contract. I got the reduction. Okay. On that one, we didn't make 50, but guess what? We made 40. Okay. So you must have the ability to walk away.
Let me ask you this, Todd. So I love the ability to walk away, but what the times where I feel like it gets challenging is when there's multiple offers, right? And reputable companies, now that we're doing pay-per-click, now that we're doing TV, we usually run into 2 of the biggest brands in the marketplace. And I think anybody that starts inbound, you're gonna have to build the skills of negotiating against other offers, because a lot of we see about 8 out of 10 are getting multiple offers on these deals. Ryan said he hasn't negotiated a deal all year that didn't have multiple offers. And so how do you be able to walk away when they have other reputable businesses and or other offers on the table that they're, you know, pushing you to compete with?
Sure. Well, a lot of people aren't going to like my answer here. Okay. And this is going to differ from other people. Number one, I don't like to compete, right? I just do not like to compete, because if you're competing, a lot of times you're going to be forced to make $10,000.
Smaller deals,
right? Smaller deals.
100%.
And I don't like that. And so for me, what's going to happen is, and this is the interesting thing. So I had a joint venture partner again, and he had 22 deals under contract. 22. And I'm like, you know, at first you think that's really, really good, right? But when we dug into them, and like 16 out of the 22 were under 10,000.
Yeah, sure.
And there was a handful of 5 in there, and there was even one for like $2,000. And so here's what I said. I said, I want you to cancel, go back and cancel or renegotiate all 16 of these deals. even if you got to cancel them. I want you to do that. Now, within this 16, okay, and this is going to answer your question here, Brent. Within this 16, there was like a maximum combined, like $85,000 in profit.
It's a lot of deals for 85.
That's a lot of deals.
Those are skinny deals, Todd.
Right. And you can just tell, right? I'm looking at their face, just look exhausted and beat up, right? And they're like, you want us to walk away? Like, there's a cash flow here. I said, well, the problem here, or the benefit is you're going to cancel some of these. And ironically, because you're willing to walk away, you're going to be able to negotiate now these from 8 up to 30, right? And so if you keep 5 out of the 16, right, at 30, you're going to be making $1.50 instead of dealing with 16, dealing with 80. And so they reluctantly did that. Out of the 16, they wound up keeping 8, right? Half. And they negotiated all those over 30, right? So they went from making 85 up to 240, right? And they totally cut the deal flow in half.
I think also what happens too, I mean, goes back to your number one point, which is the consistent leads. When you have that consistency of leads
100%.
coming in, you mitigate that fear of loss of the of walking away from a $2,000, $3,000 deal. It's brain damage, really, when we look at it.
Yeah.
And then usually what happens when we lock them up that tight, there's always going to be negotiation on the back end with buyers. I mean, it's a nature of the beast. So you end up having to go back and rework the price, having a really uncomfortable conversation with the seller, and now you look like somebody who can't perform because you committed to something that was too tight or too small. I mean, it's not good business. I used to take those deals down, and got to the point where this is, instead of having this gray area of catching stuff, it's a black and white offer when it comes to our MAOs and thresholds, right? Granted, on different areas, it kind of we move it around a little bit, but you have to understand where your stoppers are. That kind of stuff.
Well, and also I think it's a frame change in Todd with my group, because my guys are all former athletes, high level, and they all are like massive winners. And they love winning, and they love it more. They would rather get the deal versus our competition than get bigger deals and less of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well, I'll give you a frame change, because guess what, right? I mean, Brent, you were an athlete. I'm a former athlete, right? And so you have to change the game here, right? So the question is, who are you competing against? Right? Because I'm like, if you're competing with this guy over here, it's a race to the bottom. Yeah. Right? It's like you don't go and you're not going back to the kids who if you're competing with another guy on the floor or in your market, it's almost like you're competing with another guy in high school. Let him spend all of his time, because I feel, and I've told the people who I work with, I'm like, anytime you let 5 or 6 people have a street fight over 10K, you're actually wearing them out. Right? So you're like burning them out and you're demoralizing them. So like, I'm going to step out of that and let them just like spend 7K to make 10K. Right? Like just go for it. And so the issue is there's multiple offers. Now, I'm not telling you guys to be an idiot. If you're at a deal and you're competing with somebody and you see an area where you can make 30 with a price that you need to be, or 35, try to get to 45 or whatever that would be. And if someone happens to be there, if you can build enough value through necessarily a holdback, because a lot of times people don't really ask the right questions. They keep on saying, well, you could leave all your stuff behind, but maybe what's more important to them is the fact that they can stay in the house for 3 months afterwards or 4 months after. Or you may be able to get it for 50K more if you let them stay in for 6 months afterwards, right? We got $100,000 reduction in a house one time because the seller wanted to stay for 12 months. That's an extreme example, but we let him do it, right? Yeah. And we let him do it, and it worked. So, I really just don't like competing, right? I find that the only person who wins in that person, the only person that wins in that scenario is the title company. I mean, and maybe not even, right? Because the seller, sometimes, the people want them canceling, they get over aggressive, it's just not fun to be in. But this goes back to the second thing about presenting yourself in a way, because you don't want to be giving up all your profit right? Just because you're competing, you got to be able to hold your ground there.
Got it. So we got leads number 1, credibility number 2, justification number 3, ability to walk away number 4. And what is number 5, Todd?
Well, this is one of my favorite that people get really, really lazy. And this is the best return on investment that you will have in your entire business. Okay. I want everyone to listen here. This right here is the single best return that you can have in your entire business. What I'm about to tell you, besides sales and negotiation. Sorry. So I'll take that. So investing in your sales skills is number 1. Number 2 is getting a professional inspection on every property after you lock it up. Okay. And I don't care what you think you have. I don't care if the house is a mess. You want to get a professional inspection on every single
full blown, the like $500 inspection.
Brent, have I not told everybody on this channel how to negotiate here?
Did I stutter? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. You can get these for $250 if you tell an inspector that that you're going to give them regular business.
Got it. So $250, you get that inspection going right away. You get this big, and I remember you talking about this on stage in 2017. And Tom came up and he said, "Listen, Todd's a grizzled, old. His Rhino horn is chipped. You know, this isn't gonna. Some of the things he's gonna say are gonna be real challenging. If you're just getting started, you know, it's gonna take some while to build the confidence that he has on stage here. But you talked about doing an inspection and dropping, and you literally called it this. And I remember this. This is like a core memory I have. You like when you drop that bloodbath of an inspection report on him, that like encyclopedia, that dictionary on top of all the things that are wrong with their property. It really gives you a point of leverage, essentially.
Well, this is so good for so many reasons. Okay. Number 1, here's the biggest deal is that you want competition at your property, right? When you're trying to sell it. Absolutely. You want competition there. So we're moving a little bit away from, hey, the justification, the price, but I'm going to get back to this in just 1 second. Okay. If you have a feeding frenzy at your property and selling it for top dollar, this all goes together, right? Because you're making a lot on deals and you can walk away from the smaller deals. When you have buyers at your property, but you actually bring that inspector, okay, a sense of fear and terror comes into that heart of that seller. And the only thing they can think about is that inspector. They don't care about the buyers. They're like, what is this guy gonna find? It also is legit because you spent $250 on it. They think you spent $500, right?
Yep.
And so they are so focused on that. And so it just solidifies your credibility with the inspection. So you have this now for a couple of reasons. Now, number 1, when you go sell the property, you can give this inspection to all your buyers, right? And we've had buyers who pay the most, who don't even need to get inside now, who weren't able to get there at our feeding frenzy session. So that alone is going to give buyers just a little bit more certainty because you're taking away risk out of the equation because they know what they're getting into.
Sure.
So that's a $250 investment. But, and this is a big but, you lock up 10 deals, you're going to have to renegotiate to your minimum profit. And this is where people mess this up. They decide to settle for less than the value they're worth. And so all of a sudden, maybe the house wasn't as nice as they thought, or the comps weren't right, or maybe they missed that it was a 1-car garage instead of 2, or it needed a roof or an AC. And you have to be willing to back and say, hey, I'm not going to make 20. I've got to make my minimum, which is 50, right? And now you got to go back to the seller and renegotiate. And this inspection,
which, by the way, is what Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow offers. Everybody, hedge fund buyers, every single one of them gives a price, does an inspection, knocks down the price every time, literally every time, based on the inspections. Now, and that's what we're seeing, Todd, in our market. Our competition is telling them verbally a price that is way higher than they know that they could buy it for. They're saying, I can't come out for a week, so they let us go and show up first and hit them with these much lower offers than the expectation that they had from the big guys that they've seen on TV and radio and all this all the time. When they get there, they don't give them that price. And then if they have to, sweeten the pot a little bit to get it locked up, they do the inspection, knock it down, and do the deals. And we're looking at this as, this might be just what we have to do to compete on some of these, because we're getting beat out on 2 or 3 deals a month. Now we're getting 8 or 10 deals or 12 deals a month that go through, that we don't have to go through that process, but we are missing out on probably 110,000 in gross profit a month because they're implementing that strategy.
Yeah. And so once they open up that inspection, okay, and this is the beauty of this, is the word justification, because you're like, okay, if I had to use the word justification, what we do here is I send them the inspection and I say, hey, I sent you the inspection. Can you take a look at it? And I'll call you in the morning. Okay.
Yep.
They're going to open it. They're going to be sleeping at it. They're going to see everything that they didn't tell you. And by the way, there's almost always something major that you didn't see and that they didn't see, or that they knew about it, didn't tell you about.
Yep.
And so that's going to come in, and that's where you can negotiate the price that you need, right?
Yep.
If you're at 10, I suggest, ready for this, you walk away. I know that's really, really, really hard for your newbies to hear. But the interesting thing is that sometimes it takes courage. You got to walk away from the good to get to the great.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And so look, if you're trying to get your first deal and you're like, okay, I just need my confidence and I'm just going to close this. Okay. I won't hate you if you want to renegotiate, but to really get the big deals, you got to be able to do this, and stick to your guns. Now I'm going to tell you this. We never go into a deal with the intention to renegotiate. I just tell you, that's the thing we do. But we do renegotiate when we fall below that minimum expectation. So the only person I need to justify is to me. The seller could say yes, or they could say no, right? The entire time though, you have to understand that we've presented the aura of credibility. We've done the inspection. If we do the reduction, it's because now we have an inspection, right? We did exactly what we said that we were going to do. Meanwhile, you have, let's say your competitors are walking in there, they're not doing an inspection. They never seen the house, right? They have to come in and do a reduction and say, I need to be lower. And the seller's like, what are you talking about? You never even saw this thing. And you made this offer sight unseen. They've lost all this credibility. So you've planted all these seeds along the way and build credibility and rapport and use your sales skills. And the seller knows that you're willing to walk away because you have so many leads, right? And they look, and you're presenting that, and you're confident, and you look nice. And so at the end of the day, you're going to give them what they want, which is a nice, easy sale. They want this pain out of their life. And when they close it, they're going to be happier than hell.
Awesome. So leads, credibility, justification, ability to walk away, and a professional inspection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from Todd Toback. Todd, you're the man. How can people get in your world?
Man, you can check out my podcast. I know I'm on your podcast a lot, but check out the No Limits Real Estate Investing podcast. If you also want to check me out, nextlevelwholesaling.com. I got an assessment that if wholesalers want to see how to get their business to the next level, they want to get off the treadmill, they want to do bigger deals, they want to stop running around like a chicken with their head cut off, go to nextlevelwholesaling.com.
Awesome.
Nice. I like that.
Guys, Todd is on every single week on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. If you are not subscribed to that, make sure you pull out your phone, you go to your iTunes or Spotify or whatever it is, click on Wholesaling Inc. and click that little button that subscribes so that it's in your little favorites there, and you can get a dose of Todd and myself and Raphael and Brent Bowers all the time coming to you on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. Check that out. Todd, you're the best.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for spending time with us.
Bye.
See you, man. Come on.
He's so good at bringing it back to the like the most important principles.
Yeah.
That's a really good. I haven't done. Have you done inspection reports on your properties?
I've been thinking about it. I think we need to. I really do. I think we're going to transition there.
I'm going to roll that out like today.
Hey, Luke, is there a way to see the people that have subscribed?
Going door knocking. Heck yeah. Good stuff, dude.
Not actively? Okay, so just in the chat. So, guys, in the chat, Matt, do we have somebody that we can send some swag to? Do we have somebody that you've picked out for the swag? Yeah. Who is it? Ben Turk, my man. I love it. Rhino. Ben Turk, thanks for
Let's
participating so
go.
much.
What's he getting?
He's getting the Trapper Keeper. I see it
Trapper
there. So there you
Keeper.
go. Ben Turk. Awesome. We'll make sure to send that out. You get the blue-eyed kitten,
blue-eyed
baby kittens. There you go. Guys, I want to end on this. I think that this is really interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on it as well, Raf. But this is an article in Financial Times, and it says crypto has designs on real estate, buying blockchains listed slices of properties in troubled markets. What is that word? Nascent niche and troubled markets. Man, they're pulling out all the
fancy stuff.
The English classes for this article. But it's really interesting. If you guys go there, you could just Google it, or just if you Google real estate investing and go to news, this is where I pulled this up. And it's Google does a good job of putting great articles up there every single day. But what they were talking about is interesting. They were talking about they were in lower income markets like Detroit, Chicago, and Memphis, and it wasn't working because people weren't paying the bills. People were beating up the properties, and it turned into a disaster. So what they started focusing on is the people that own Airbnbs and short-term rental properties, selling portions of that. And what you do, you buy it for $50, you buy it for $100. And what they're saying is real estate, to be in the 21st century, has to be more liquid. And how do you be more liquid? Well, you buy a cryptocurrency that gives you ownership, partial ownership in real estate. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And you see that Jeff Bezos is doing this, not with cryptocurrency, but it might go that way where you can get partial ownership in real estate. So from a wholesaling standpoint, there might be this wave of new buyers where they're pooling their money. They're hedge funds that are going to then resell these as a cryptocurrency. These companies are well funded. Let me give you a couple of these companies' names. We've got Lofty is one of them. Lofty is interesting. They're a Silicon Valley startup. You've got there's a couple other ones here. I don't know. You guys can pull this up and take a look at it. But essentially, you sell portions of your equity, of your ownership, I should say, in the property, and people can buy it for low prices and then exchange it on the crypto markets, like a Coinbase or something like that.
Right.
And so you get in for, $1,000, $2,000, and maybe that property is increasing in value. Maybe they did a different strategy where they're doing short term instead of long term. So there's more cash.
Revenue, maybe.
Yep. It's a profit share on the revenue and on the appreciation. So as that appreciates, obviously it's a pretty safe place to put your money. Which I think is very, very interested for people that are really just, wanting to be passive with their investments and not really get into the real estate investing full time. And then these could be the cash buyers that we're selling deals to.
Real estate cash or real estate backed crypto. I mean, it sounds huge,
right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing a fix and flip.
Yeah.
If you want to raise funds for a fix and flip, and you can buy a property for $250, but it's worth $500, and you put $100 into it or $150 into it, you got it at $400, but now it's worth $500, and so you increase by 20% the value of that property just by doing the right rehab on it.
Yeah,
it's going to be really, really interesting.
I wonder what the funding guidelines are going to be on that side of things. I mean, they've gotten stricter over the last couple of years when it comes to putting together a fund, even if it's private money.
I think it's going to be the hedge funds.
Yeah,
I think they're going to raise money in hedge funds, buy them cash, so there's no financing, and then sell portions of it off.
Yeah,
I think really wealthy people putting into the funds, buying a bunch of real estate for long term is a really smart, especially to hedge against inflation, right? Especially to hedge against the dollar, like, getting kind of turbulent times, which essentially is inflation. But the more money they print, the less it's worth, and they can't build houses fast enough. I mean, there is a critical shortage of properties out there. And they're just not building as much as they used to in the previous decades.
With a good model like that, I see portfolios just flying off the shelf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
just getting snatched up by the hedge funds.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm going to track that.
Awesome, guys. If you're not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you subscribe to Rafael Cortez's YouTube channel. Let him know.
Rafael Cortez, CEO on YouTube.
CEO. Make sure that you guys get in there, and just a wealth of information and instruction. So get in there, subscribe to that. If you're getting value out of this, please like this. Even if you're watching the replay of this, if you stuck around with us for the last 2 hours, that's absolutely incredible. Take bits and pieces of what you've learned today from the experts and implement them. All right. We can't just stay in education mode.
Action.
We have to take massive, imperfect action. All right. Randy asked, Rafael, do you have a door knocking blueprint for rhinos?
Probably. I don't know if he's referring to like the whole process, the SOP on how do we build leads and all that stuff. I do, but it's more of a process to be explained than just like a blueprint to follow.
How can people get that info?
Reach out, send me a message, send me a DM on Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
Rafael Cortez CEO, same thing as YouTube. Yeah, at Rafael Cortez CEO. And it's me on the DMs. It's not my team. I respond to those.
There you go, guys. And your homework for this show is to go to that training, richdadandbrent.com. Check that out, Brent. richdadandbrent.com. And we'll see you next week, guys. Bring it in. Matt, come on in. Luke, come on in. Guys, thank you so much for participating. We love you. We're so grateful to be able to present to you guys and have this platform every week. So on behalf of Rafael and Matt and Luke and everybody and Alejandra, who's not here, and baby Leo that she just had, we love you. Keep your house clean, protect your health, and increase your value to the world. You'll live a fantastic life. See you guys. Love you.
Bam.
Boom.